I mean, I've probably bought and sold 500 Brady autos. I never knew there was a 12 inside the B. Like, that was mind blowing.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Content. Today, we've got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the playoff picture in the NFL. That is the one thing really on my mind as we wrap up the NFL season. We'll get into that in a second. We'll talk about some of the product releases as well. I want to hit on this and where we stand as basketball's getting going almost halfway. Football is near completion, at least in the regular season. I want to talk about those couple things here in a sec. We will get into an interview. Our guy, Kevin, DeCaptain on Instagram, will be joining us here. One of the biggest Brady collectors in the space. We'll talk about how he got into collecting Tom Brady, what that has been like with a massive rise in Brady cards over the last, couple of years. And he got to do something at a card show that many people won't be able to say they did. And we'll talk about what that experience was and, what it was like. Then we've got our guy, Gabe Card Stacks, coming on for Stock Watch. We'll talk all things college football cards as the CFP has opening weekend. We'll preview the next games. We'll see who's up, who's entering the transfer portal. We'll get into that. But as I mentioned earlier, I want to talk about the NFL playoffs. First thing, they're going to be a lot different this year. They're going to be a lot different. It's, looking at who's going to be there, who was there last year. This playoff picture looks a lot different right now. And we've got, 2 weeks left in the regular season, I think, at this point. But a lot can still happen. But looking at the playoff picture, I mean, both of them, honestly, are surprising. The top teams in both divisions right now, or both conferences, are the Seahawks and the Broncos. I don't even think the Seahawks were in the playoff picture last year. The Broncos, I think, got like the 7th seed. Again, Brian, can we pull this up here? Yeah, Broncos last year got the 7th seed, and the Seahawks were not in it. The Seahawks, that NFC West division this year is crazy good. The Rams, the Seahawks, the Niners, Cardinals stink, but you're going to see some new teams in the playoffs this year. You look at the AFC, the Jaguars are on fire. Trevor Lawrence, 4 touchdowns, back-to-back games. This dude is not getting enough love in the MVP conversation. First-year head coach Liam Cohen. That team is good. The Patriots are back. They are good. They went after a QB with the number 10 in 2021. That wasn't it. It wasn't Mac Jones. Drake May is here, and Drake May is the real deal. I watched the Patriots-Ravens game Sunday night. That dude, Mac Jones, or that dude, Drake May, not Mac Jones. That dude, Drake May, is cold. He's the real deal. You got a lot of new teams this year. Again, NFC, the Eagles, defending Super Bowl champs. They're currently the 3 seed. We talk about the NFC West, Niners, Rams, both in the playoff picture right now. So right now we've got NFL.com standings up. Currently, it lists 1 through 3 on both because the fourth division is up for grabs in both the NFC and the AFC. But there's definitely some new teams in this outside of the Eagles and I guess the Rams. Like, I don't think any of these teams have won in a while. The Chiefs are out. The Chiefs are gone. They're out. Mahomes tears his ACL. We talked about that, hoping for a speedy recovery. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have been eliminated. Cowboys aren't in it. Vikings are not in it this year. They were in it last year. The Commanders won a playoff game. They beat the number 1 seed last year was the Lions. They beat the Lions. I was in Dallas filming on the night Jaden Daniels won that game as a rookie, 1 versus 6 seed. The Commanders beat the Bucks in round 1, went to Detroit, beat the Lions. They're out, right? Jaden Daniels was banged up a lot this year. Didn't play in nearly as many games after an amazing rookie season. They're out. So you look at this playoff picture right now and like who is there. There's a lot of new teams in this. And I look at this and I think, again, as a card collector, I love this. Like, I don't love how the circumstances unfolded to get to this point with injuries to Burrow, to Mahomes. Like, you never want to see those things. Like, you want guys to be healthy, but I think it is a good thing for Cards when we get some new teams in here. Now, obviously, you want to see the GOATs win. I love seeing Mahomes win, as I believe he's one of the greatest ever, and I think that cements legacies. But seeing a guy like Drake May, Caleb Williams, Brock Purdy, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, some guys that are in the playoff picture this year that, are going to have a shot to get it done. If Josh Allen doesn't get it done this year with no Mahomes and no Joe Burrow, is he ever going to get it done? Right? Like, these conversations have to start happening, and it's going to be a very interesting year. So while I will definitely root for Joe Burrow and root for Patrick Mahomes, I think they're two of the best. I think Mahomes is a top 5 quarterback all time. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I know there's a couple positions, couple spots still available. I think the Colts have like a outside chance after, I think, what was it, week 4, week 5? They were one of the best teams in the league. Daniel Jones gets banged up. They're completely, they're on the bubble now. I think 8-7. Yeah, 8-7. Ravens 7-8 lose to the Patriots on Sunday Night Football at home. They're out. Baker and the Buccaneers have kind of fallen off. They, had a couple games, but early on, Mike Evans gets hurt. They haven't looked the same. The Lions, you look at that team, that's one of the best rosters in football. They have amazing talent. They were the number 1 seed last year. Now they're 8-7 on the outside looking in, behind the Packers, behind the Chicago Bears, the Ben Johnson-led Chicago Bears. We talked about that. It's been a while, but the Lions lost 2 offensive coordinators. They lost 2 coordinators. They lost offensive and defensive coordinator. How they were going to react. Like, how was that team gonna rebound with 2 new coordinators? Hasn't gone according to plan for many in Detroit, I'm sure. So we'll see. The other thing when you look at this playoff picture is it says, like, shout out to NFL.com playoff picture. This graphic is awesome. Shows all these teams and where's everybody at, and it shows like on the bubble, in the hunt, current playoff picture, and then it shows eliminated. And when you look at, like, okay, maybe some of the mid-tier teams got a little better, some of the top-tier teams got a little worse. Like, there's a little bit of, change there. The one thing that didn't really change, the bottom teams still stink. Those teams stink. They were bad last year. They're bad this year. Those teams need, I don't know, if you're a fan of one of the, these couple teams we're going to mention here, is it a complete rebuild? Do you feel confident in your team? Where do you go from here? The Giants, current number 1 pick after getting Dart and Abdul Carter and Neighbors. Like, they've gotten pieces. You fire Dable. Brian Dable is like, what do you need? The Cardinals. Time to move on from Kyler Murray. Gannon's probably out. They look terrible. The Raiders have 2 wins. They got Genty and Brock Bowers. Those are skill positions. Those are great talents. 2 wins. Terrible. The Cleveland Browns. Listen, I'm in Columbus. I've heard about it every year for the last 30 years of my life, that this was the Browns' year. The Browns were going to get it. It's their year. I've heard it through Charlie Fry, through Manziel, through Derek Anderson, through, Shadur Sanders, through, Deshaun Watson. That trade, they were going to be amazing. Baker, they went to the playoffs. The Browns have an elite defense, the best defensive player in the league, and a couple guys that you look at. Obviously, the Quinshon Judkins injury was horrific. Hopefully, he can fully recover. But when are the Browns going to get it done? That team has a lot of talent to be that bad. The Titans, again, last year's number 1 pick with Cam Ward, they're out. The Jets still continue to stink. They're terrible. The Saints, the Falcons gave up their first-round pick next year because they took James Pierce in this year's draft. They're out. I look at some of these teams and I'm like, a lot of these teams are in the same conversation, have been in the top of these drafts for a while. How soon until some of these drafts or some of these teams are, in the playoff picture, because you look at them now and it doesn't look like it's going to be a quick fix. So if you're a fan of one of those teams, I'm curious, do you feel optimism or not? But again, 2 weeks left, lot to happen, but man, I'm excited. I've watched a lot more football these last couple weeks. Been watching again some of the teams in the playoff picture, some of the Bears games, the Patriots. So I've watched a few different games lately and ready for postseason football. It's the World Series was really good last year. It was great. I really enjoyed it, and I don't enjoy watching baseball. The World Series was phenomenal. I loved it, especially the later games. I thought they were great. Postseason football is different. I'm excited, ready to see what happens, especially with no Mahomes, no Joe Burrow. It's gonna be interesting. I'm ready for some new faces. No offense to any Eagles fans. I don't want to see the Eagles win again. I definitely don't want to see that, but would be excited to see, like, give me like Caleb Williams, Drake May, like that in the postseason. Couple sophomore quarterbacks who have taken that, that next step. Give me Josh Allen versus, I don't know if I want to see Sam Darnold, but I love my guy Jackson. Josh Allen versus Matthew Stafford in the Super Bowl. Josh Allen versus Purdy, like Josh Allen versus Jalen Hurts. Those guys are a little bit older in the league. There's a lot. I loved Trevor Lawrence. I was so big on Trevor Lawrence coming out. I've always said I will die on that hill that Trevor Lawrence was elite, one of the best talents I've ever seen. Reminded me a lot of Luck, of Andrew Luck. They're the 3 seed. Justin Herbert, are they going to get it done? Hopefully not. I'm not a big Harbaugh guy. Yeah, Bo Nix. Again, another one. Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, potentially, right? Some of those 2024 quarterbacks. And I think that's a good transition into my next topic, because you look at the 2024 quarterbacks, you've got Bo Nix, you've got Drake May, you've got Caleb Williams. Those are 1, 2 in the AFC and 2 in the NFC in terms of top seed. Those are young quarterbacks. And we're scheduling videos, looking at some of the release schedule for product, what we're going to rip on YouTube for content. And what I'm looking at is, where's the product? Like, where's it at? We're 2 weeks away from the end of the regular season in the NFL. And I feel like we've had this conversation before. I know this has gotten brought up. I don't remember the last time it had. But my plea here is going to be what do we need to do to change this in sports cards? This is not a Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Leaf thing. This is not a one company versus the other, right? Obviously, Panini and Topps have more standard, and Upper Deck as well, have more like standard release calendars, oftentimes based off of the seasons, right? Some of the releases, the football regular season is 2 weeks away from being over. We don't have Prism. We don't have Select. We don't have Optic. We don't have NT. We don't have Immaculate. We don't have Flawless. We don't have Eminence. Like, the 6 of the top 10 products. What else? What's the best product we've got so far? Mosaic, Phoenix, regular Donruss, Impeccable, right? Like, those are some of the elite products we've got so far. But we've got first off the line with a lot of them, which is cool. And obviously, there's great college football product. But just from an NFL perspective, you see guys like Travis Hunter out for the year. Jackson Dart, been banged up, had a concussion in 5 of 10 games, or evaluated for concussion in 5 of 10 games. Cam Scatterbo out for the year. Quinshon Judkins, serious leg injury, out for the year. Travion Henderson leaves the game Sunday night. You look at it, and as the season starts and there's a lot of optimism around what these players will do, there's not a lot of cards for those guys. So you see a lot of bigger sales early on because supply is so low. But the better products don't come out until some of these guys are eliminated from the postseason, are injured, are, benched. Like, you don't see a lot of these guys. There's not a lot of opportunity to buy a better product or a better rookie card, invest in something during the season of some of these rookies. And again, that's not just for football as well, right? WNBA Impeccable releases on Friday. It's got Paige Becker's rookies in it. Her season's over. Like, it's been over. It's not like it didn't end yesterday. It's been over for weeks? Like, it's been over for a while. Why not get those products during the season? Basketball's the same way. We're 30 some games into an 82 game season, so right around a third of the way through the basketball season. I think mid-January is when we get to the halfway point. We have 2 basketball products. Topps Chrome, right? Now, have to get, like, again, this is not like any kind of diss at any of the companies. I'm just trying to understand how we can get to this point where these things can come out more. Topps just took over the basketball license October 1st, right? So they're, 10 or 11 weeks into this licensing. So we're getting there, right? We have something. Topps Chrome is an elite release. That is a big time basketball release. I compare Topps Chrome basketball to Prism football, Prism basketball. Like, Prism and Chrome, those are the 2 big brands. If we would have got Finest early, Finest wouldn't have been where Chrome is. Finest is going to be a big release if it comes out, or Cosmic, or whatever the next Chrome like basketball release is. But Chrome basketball is a big release, right? You've got that by the end of 2025. That's a big time release. That's a good product. But how many products are we going to get for these guys, right? Is it only going to be 5? Is it going to be 15? I mean, football products, how many football products do they make a year? We just did a video ripping one of every 2025 pro football product year to date, that's been released for the 2025 season. What was it? 11? 12 boxes, right? We've already ripped 12 boxes. And we're talking about, this conversation started with, we don't have Optic, we don't have Select, we don't have Prism, we don't have NT, we don't have Flawless, we don't have Eminence. That's a whole another list of products, right? So if Topps is going to maintain a good amount of releases like Panini, we're almost halfway through the season and we only have 2 of them. Are we getting 10 more? I just think the timeline for the releases, I know COVID has pushed this back so much, but I would love to hear from someone at Topps or someone at Panini on if they anticipate that release calendar being back to, okay, the NBA season's about to start. Here's Cooper Flag rookies. Hey, the NBA season's a month in. Here's Chrome basketball. Okay, it's 6 weeks in. Here's Finest basketball. It would just be nice. Like, I realize we don't want to release them once every 2 weeks. Like, that's not what we want. So more curious about the long-term strategy around number of releases and matching that up with an in-season schedule to understand, okay, some of these products are going to come out before the season. That's going to happen. I don't anticipate there will be a lot of them, but some kind of flagship type product, pictures from last year's for veterans, like shouldn't be, airbrushing, I'm assuming, some of the traded players. But then you get into the season and products start to ramp up. And then as you get towards the end of the season, you get some bigger products and, the season closes. But Eminence Football 2024 came out during the 25 season, right? The idea that these products are coming out when guys are sophomores, well, that just pushes everything in the next class back completely as well. So as I look ahead, that's a thing for me where I think will help contribute to the long-term success of the hobby with having products released during the season. Again, that point I made a second ago about number of products versus release calendar is important too, because if you have 50 products, right, if we're increasing the products, like if we have as many football as we do basketball or vice versa, putting one out every week just hurts those individual products. So you got to have some time to let them breathe, but getting everything after the season, or majority, 60% of the better products post, season ending for at least the regular season, makes it a little bit more complex. So I'm hoping we get some clarity on that. I don't know if is it a both companies thing? Is it a Topps and Panini thing? Like, did COVID push things back so far? Is it intentional? Is it unintentional? Is it because they have so many different products to release across categories? That's what I think I would, if I had any question for Topps or Panini, and I got to ask one question, that's what I think I would be the most intrigued by is, do you envision a world where a year from now we sit here and we have Topps Chrome Finest, Topps Chrome Cosmic, Topps Chrome Basketball, Topps Chrome, Topps Finest, Topps Cosmic, Topps Flagship, 35% into the season. So we'll see, but something on my mind is, Quinshon Judkins gets hurt and we're 2 weeks away from the postseason and we don't have Prism, and now Quinshon Judkins' Prism card's going to come out and he's not going to have played and he's going to be hurt, and Travis Hunter's out for the year and his Prism card's going to, is that good for the long-term success of the market? I don't know. I'm curious. That would be my question if like I said, if I got to ask one. While we're on the idea of upcoming releases, the release schedule, one thing we did see coming to F1 is debut patch autos. Now, I think we've had this conversation like football and basketball and baseball, and the idea that these would come to basketball and football once Topps got the licensing. They did in baseball, had a ton of success. It's a massive hit. I feel like I talk about the debut patch auto in every episode. It's the greatest modern day trading card that exists of any player. That is one man's take. It's coming to F1. That's not something I saw coming, but it looks like a debut. It says a patch card. It looks like a sticker, like a helmet sticker type thing, but it says debut patches are coming to F1. This is a post Topps made a couple days ago, and Again, I view them, they look to me like stickers, but it says patches. Yeah, it says race worn patches during their first F1 race. So two guys in this, Bortoletto and Isaac Hajar, and these were both worn during races in early 2025. So both in March. One of them, Bortoletto, was the 16th. Hajar was the 23rd. This is definitely cool. Again, obviously, looking back on this, hindsight being 2020, would love there to be a debut patch auto of Mahomes, Ohtani, Lewis Hamilton, Connor McDavid. Those would be pretty cool to own, right? Like, I think everybody would be like, that's a pretty cool thing. I think you would see all-time sales. I think we would smash some of the modern-day sales numbers with cards like that. Those would be big cards. So this idea that it's here and across multiple sports, what do we see it with wrestling, UFC? We saw with one of those too. Likely going to be a F1 is just another continuation of this. So it appears to be at this point that we're going to see this across really any sport Topps has a licensing for. Again, haven't confirmed that, but I think F1 being the latest release there shows that this is something Topps is definitely leaning into. But does it say on the post, Brian? Brian's got the post up here. It's on Topps page. I want to see if these are going to be placed into Topps Chrome. I know Topps Chrome comes out in January, so I wonder if these are going to be in Topps Chrome. Brian, go over one more. Can you go over more? Nope, it doesn't say. I feel like Topps Chrome could be a big one. I know they've done the extravaganza or whatever the product was last week that I talked about. The logo doesn't give it away. The design doesn't give it away when you see the picture on Topps' website or on Topps' Instagram post. It doesn't say Chrome on it. So interested to see where those will go, but excited to see those in products and hopefully see more of them down the line. Now, while we're on the topic of big sales, we talked about this I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. This Ohtani that was at bids. We actually had 2 major card sales recently happen. I don't know if you guys saw this. They were actually in back-to-back days. One was on Heritage, and one was on Fanatics. And the first one on Heritage was a Jordan Kobe Bryant exquisite logo man from LeBron's rookie year. So 0304 dual exquisite logo man, Kobe Jordan. It was graded a PSA 6. I thought this was Nat Turner's card. I thought this was his. I know he had a couple of these big logo mans. Again, don't think it necessarily matters, but I thought it was a Nat Turner card. Did 3.172. The dual logo man of MJ, who was it? There was one that sold earlier this year for like 12 million. I think that's the one that Kevin O'Leary and Shine and their company bought. Was like $12 million. Who was it, Brian? Jordan and Kobe. Yeah, autograph logo man from 0708 exquisite. So that was autographed. It was actually also a PSA 6. The one that just sold was non-autographed, but also a PSA 6. Obviously, I'm not buying $3 million cards, but compared to that one, it seems a little light. So not sure what happened here. I honestly expected this to do a little bit higher for what it is. I mean, this is a Grail basketball card. This is 2 of the top 5 basketball players of all time. Exquisite. That's an iconic year. It's LeBron's year. It's pretty monstrous card. So I'm actually a little surprised it didn't do more. The 6 obviously doesn't matter because the autograph version did 12 million. So I don't think the 6 hurts it as, much as it might for a modern day like Kaboom or Downtown. Obviously comparing apples to, oranges there, but a big time sale nonetheless. And then again, the other sale was the Ohtani. It was at like $1,050,000 or $1,050,000 when we talked about it. It wasn't wasn't there, but it was going to be like the all-time Ohtani sale. This thing ended at $3 million. $3 million. Ohtani. Game used 101 gold logo man auto. I think it bears the question which one you would rather have. If you're asking me to pick, would pick the Kobe Jordan for sure. I would take the exquisite dual logo man, even non-autographed. I think that 0304 exquisite set is all-time iconic, like top 5 greatest sports card set ever made. So that's a big time set. Ohtani is cool, and that definitely shows his global popularity. $3 million for a non-rookie card of Ohtani. But yeah, it just tells you this dude's in the same category as the GOATs now. $3 million. I mean, that's humongous. That is a massive modern day card sale. That's headline worthy. And that's back to back days of $3 million modern day cards. That is good attention for the sports card industry. Hey, did you know a sports card sold for $3 million? Hey, did you know a sports card sold for $3 million? Those are storylines. Those are talking points. Those things get attention, and those things put eyeballs on the sports card market. That is what we like to see. So, a couple big time sales, but what will be the next $3 million card to sell? That's the question. What's the next $3 million card to sell? Because those are two monster modern day sales. All right, modern day sales. Next card, $3 million. Could be TB12. Could be the GOAT. This next gentleman, big Tom Brady guy. Actually, not even a fan of the Patriots though. Got to give my guy Kevin some crap for that. He's actually a Raiders guy. So, how did a Raiders fan start collecting Tom Brady, and what has that journey been like? Let's kick it over to our friend, the captain, and find out. All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. Another guest today on the podcast, longtime friend in this space, another East Coast collector. I feel like Kev is another one in the great line of folks from the Boston, New Hampshire, Vermont, great card scene out on the East Coast. So Kevin, thank you for coming on the pod and joining us here today.
Thanks for having me on, Ryan. And before we get started, I got to say, if I don't say this, I'm going to get beat up by an 8-year-old. But my son Grayson said to say hi, so he says
Man.
hi.
Shout out to Grayson. Yeah, that's it's crazy. I definitely feel like I'm getting old when, folks I've known for a decade plus and, I've made deals at the National and, some of these big shows for, most of my life now, or, we have kids and they watch, I appreciate you sharing it. We've shared, messages before about, your son watching some of the content. It's, it's crazy how, again, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I'm getting old at this point, but, shout out to my friend Grayson for sure.
Awesome, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, getting old, I feel that definitely, but it's just one of those things. He loves watching packs break. He's big into the hobby. We're definitely enjoying this together now. So, when I came downstairs one day and heard your voice, and I'm like, oh, great. I'm like, that's like my friend Ryan. He's like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, I've known Ryan for literally a decade. He's like, wait, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we've done car deals together. So I'm definitely going up in the coolness scale with him by being on here. So appreciate it, brother.
I love it. Well, I'm sure we'll get into the card space and collecting with your son here in a second, but just to kick it off on the right foot, for maybe those of those listening that don't know who you are, I always like to start with that question: who are you, and how did we get right here?
Yeah, so I am turning 40 in February. So I've been collecting since I was 5. So we're talking, 35 years. All the way back to, I vividly remember, I've got great memories of going to the local LCS in Franklin, Mass. Fridays after school with a buddy and walking in there with $5 to $10, having to make the difficult decisions of do I want to buy a couple packs? Do I want to buy some singles? Right? I was, just awesome memories there. And then toward the end of high school into college, I kind of took a back seat. Different priorities with going to school and all the stuff that comes with that, right? And then when I got out of college, I started setting up at shows a little bit, like just a showcase here and there at a local show. And then I went to college to be a high school teacher. So I was a high school teacher for 13 years. And I always kind of did this on the side.
Yep.
And, I was never a big social media guy. I mean, I was the whole blowout forums back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I heard you talking to, I listened to you and Jameson's podcast and heard you guys talking about the good old blowout days, right?
Good days.
Never a real big social media guy. And then, I developed some great relationships through the hobby and started setting up at some bigger shows. And then all of a sudden opportunity came to kind of set up at the National for the first time. We're talking probably, 8, 9, 10 years ago.
Yep.
And that's when, my wife's kind of like, hey, like you should consider, I never had Facebook. I literally like college was like AOL Instant Messenger. I'm kind of dating myself right there, which the Captain 37 was my AOL Instant Messenger screen name back in the day. So kind of just rolled it over into a brand. But, she's like, maybe you could on Instagram and share some of your cards. And that was probably the best advice she ever gave me. So shout out to my wife, Melissa, because I would not have been on Instagram without her. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am today doing this full time without Instagram. So, 13 years teaching high school. I'm the head basketball coach at the high school is why I still am actually year 15. I'll be heading to practice a couple hours after we get off the pod. But it was one of those things where in our contract it let you take a year leave of absence, unpaid, and they would hold your spot. So I'm like, you know what, like it was becoming evident it just wasn't for me anymore, and I took advantage of that year leave of absence and tried doing this for a year full time, and it went extremely well. I probably knew 2 months in that I was going to be able to do it full time. So here we are, 3 years later, and the Captain 37's a brand, and I'm doing this full time and living the dream, and being able to be at home more. I got an 8-year-old son, a 4-year-old daughter, and you know, little things I can do now that I couldn't before, like take them to the bus in the morning, pick them up after
Yep.
school. Um, just the freedom that comes with being, your own boss, right?
Yep.
It's definitely. I always say I'm a gambler, right? And I gambled on myself, and I looking back at this, 10 years in the future, I'm going to say this is the best or worst decision I ever made, and right
Yeah.
now I feel like it's the best one. It's going very well. So
Amazing. Well, I want to again. I think there's a lot there to touch on. Obviously, I know from knowing you for so long, like who you collect, and uh, I want to get into that too. But I want to start with the what I think is one of the biggest things about you is like you do this full time now, and you said you made the you made the transition to full time. Why though, right? Like why make that leap full time? Like was it a passion thing? Was it a happiness thing? Was it the flexibility? With your kid, you talk about that. Like, got a pretty good gig. Like, I feel like you got to be a very special individual to go into coaching and teaching. Like, underpaid, overworked. Like, the I cannot commend teachers enough. Like, hard work and incredibly um selfless. Like I think the world of teachers. So like why talk me through some of those early days and why you made that transition.
yeah, so I appreciate all those kind words. You know, I'm out of the profession now, but I still have a lot of friends at the high school, and
Yep.
a lot of respect for what they do. And coaching's in my blood. I've literally coached since I was 14, 15 years old. So that's something I'm still doing, and I still have a huge passion for. But it was one of those things where I vividly remember probably 8 years in, I was driving home on a Friday, and I had a great week. Like nailed all the lessons. The kids were great, everything. And I'm driving home, and I'm like, I'm miserable. So I'm like, what am I doing here? Right. So like, it was kind of a position at that point where I couldn't leave. We were starting, we were young, starting a family, right? Benefits were through me, the steady job, pension. So I really had to stick it out for a little bit, right? Um, and then, I'm fortunate my wife has a good job, right? And it's a big part of making this decision, right? So,
Yep.
you think about, things that you might not think about, like, all right, if you're having kids, what's the health insurance situation, right? Like, if my wife didn't have good health insurance, I would have had to stay at the high school, right? Just for the fact of, all right, we need this, right? So we're in a position, my family, where she has a great job. So it allowed me some flexibility, and I was able to gamble a little bit myself. So if it didn't work out, I still had something to fall back on. Um, but it was really just, I wanted to be a teacher my whole life, and I wanted to coach my whole life. And then, probably 8 or 9 years in, I kind of realized I can't do this for another 30, 35 years. Because,
Yep.
you got to work till you're 65, 67. Like, I just can't imagine doing that at this point. So it's one of those things. It was a very quick, easy conversation. Like, and Melissa knew I always did this on the side, right? She knew I was a collector when we first started dating, right? So it's not like it was new to her. She knew the excitement of mail days and conversations. Hey, I kind of want to buy this very expensive card, and it's kind of half our bank account. What do you think, right? So she was. I knew I had her trust early on, which is a huge part of it, right?
Yeah.
You know that world, right? I mean, if you
Yeah.
if
Oh
you
yeah.
don't have the wife's trust, it makes it very difficult to do things, right?
Yep.
Um, so I'm like, you know what? Like shows were going well. I was kind of making a name for myself. Becoming like I kind of specialized in certain things at that point. So, I'm sure we'll get into Tom Brady at some point during this pod, but like
Yep.
I was one of the Brady guys, right? Kind of on the East Coast. And then once I started setting up at the National, all of a sudden you're like one of the Brady guys across the country, which is still kind of crazy to think about. But especially being a Raiders fan, by the way, which is cool now because he kind of he owned us all throughout his career playing, and now he actually owns part of us,
Yeah.
financially. So so yeah, it was just it was a combination of I always had such a passion for the hobby. I love cards. I love sports cards, and actually, that's kind of something I still wrestle with because I'm still very much a collector. But at the end of the day, the
Mhm.
cards are paying the bills now, right?
Yep.
So you got to make some difficult choices at certain times. But the combination of my absolute love for the hobby, the combination of my love for sports, the combination of I'm a very social guy. The combination of being at shows and talking to people. I love talking sports and cards. I'll talk to you for 10 minutes at a local show, even if we don't do a deal, just to kind of talk about cards, the market, hobby, whatever. Um, and then obviously the factor in that teaching just was not for me anymore. So all those things kind of lumped together, kind of resulted in, hey, I'm going to give it a shot, and here we are.
Yeah, I think I think I just want to touch on one of the points you brought it up, but I I can't stress enough, and I think it sounds like you would say the same thing about being on the same page with the person you sleep next to every night is a huge factor in making decisions like those. I say it all the time, but I would not be where I am today without without my best friend. Like, my wife is my rock. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like that was a big piece of your decision. And I know that decision is a lot easier to make when, the person you sleep next to, again, supports that decision.
We're getting major brownie points with the wives right now. By the way, this is awesome, right? But it's the truth, brother. It really is, man. And also she's unique in the sense that being a coach's wife is something that's very different, right? I
Yep.
mean, literally from early December to hopefully March if we make a playoff run, right? She's almost a single parent, right? I'm not around a ton, doing this, and for me, and that was the other part of it too, because like I was going from teaching, 7 to 2, then to practice, and then doing like card stuff at night to get ready for a show, and it was overwhelming, right? And you
Yep.
get to a point where it's like, all right, I'm not spending a ton of time with her. I'm not giving her the attention she deserves. I'm not giving my kid the attention he deserves. So it's like something's gonna go, and it sure as hell wasn't gonna be the hobby for me. So
Yep.
it was like, all right, we're gonna try to see how this works out, right? It's just so awesome now, man. Like, it's I work from home, right? She works from home 3 to 4 days out of 5 during the week, right? So we see each other a lot more, which is awesome, right? And then, now Grayson's getting older. He's involved with sports, all these things that I can do with him now that I couldn't while I was still teaching. It's invaluable. It truly is, and we always talked about, my dad was a very hard worker, 9 to 5 guy. But it was like, go to work, come home, eat, and then it's like bedtime. So we didn't see each other a ton during the week, right? I wanted to, um, I wouldn't say I have a better relationship with Greg, 'cause I have a good relationship with my father. I don't misconstrue that, but just be around a little more because I had the ability
Yep.
to, right? Which my dad did. My
Sure.
dad had to work his off to support our family, right? So
Yep.
the fact that I had this opportunity to do something a little different, that I didn't have as a
Yep.
kid, that means a lot, right? And when you can
Yep.
be around your kids more, and Grayson is such a big part of what I do. He comes to practices. He's on the bench at basketball games. We literally announce him as a coach on the staff. Um, Now he's playing his own travel. I'm helping out with his travel team, right? Um, and then he's now coming to shows with me. Like he's setting up at shows, puts his own little showcase out, right? So, um,
That's amazing.
I even just talking about all this stuff with you right now, it just further reiterates that I made the right decision, right? And I truly feel like
Yeah.
that. So it's fun times right now, man. It truly is. He's at a fun age.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to those days for sure. You
Absolutely.
uh you hinted at it earlier, but obviously I've known you for so long. Shout out to the blowout card forum days, and from those days to now, I've known for a long time you've collected Tom Brady. That is not a secret. Again, I think if anybody's really been in the space for a you know ample amount of time, you understand that has been one of your guys. I didn't actually know the Raiders fan thing. I think we've talked about that once, but I definitely did not remember that. Talk me through. Yeah, there it is. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You
Right.
showed a phone case with the Raiders screen on it. Um,
Yep.
but talk me through like how and why was Tom Brady the guy you were into, much earlier.
So the crazy part is, and I tell people this, and they kind of look at me weird, but I'm a diehard Raiders fan whose favorite player was always Peyton Manning. My father is a diehard Colts fan, like Matt Johnny Unitas, like Johnny Unitas walked into his work one day, like, and then who now is a massive Tom Brady collector, right? So people are like, how did you get to this point? So, like when I was in high school, like I wasn't a Patriots fan. I'm still not a Patriots fan. Like, I had to go through the snow game with the Raiders as a Raiders fan in a room with 20 of my Patriots friends. You want to talk about
Ugh.
dark times, PTSD, right? But I was actually talking to somebody at a show about that the other day. They're like, "Have you ever thought about the fact that if the Tuck Rule game never happens, maybe you aren't where you are today because that really springboarded Brady, right?" I'm like, that's actually a good point, right? So maybe I don't look at it in the past with such negative thoughts now, but yeah. So like it
I
was one
think
of
that's
those
called
things where
coping.
yeah, seriously, right? So it was when I started setting up at the local shows out of college, just like one showcase here and there. I was only football. I didn't do any basketball. Like you see a
Yep.
lot of vintage baseball on my page now. I didn't do any of that back then. I'm definitely expanded. But I would have all these football cards, and then I would have two or three Tom Brady cards, and the consistent thing that moved at every show was the Tom Brady cards. So I'm
Yep.
like, okay, like I need to adjust my strategy here, right? So I would say right before the Falcons Super Bowl, I sold probably 80% of the football I had and put it all in the Tom Brady. And if I was ranking the top five best decisions of my life, that's definitely in there, right? Because his stuff went nuts after that Super Bowl. And that allowed me to, flip some cards, make some bigger profits than I was accustomed to. And then, all of a sudden you start getting more Brady in your showcase and people start bringing you more Brady. And all of a sudden you start buying more. And all of a sudden you got a full showcase of Brady and then two full showcases of Brady. And all of a sudden you're the Tom Brady guy in the area, right? So that's kind of how it started. It was kind of a I don't want to say all luck. I'll give myself a little credit, but it was definitely some luck in terms of how that Falcon Super Bowl played out. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the drama in that game, the 28-3.
Oh
Like I mean,
God, yeah.
when he beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, his stuff didn't go up a ton because they won like 13 to
Mm-hmm.
3, and the game was boring, right? But like just how it
Yep.
played out
Oh
in
yeah.
that game, like I mean, I had cards I bought for $200 that were now selling for 2K. It was absolutely insane. Like so, that was timing. I guess was everything there. Um, but I definitely wasn't always a Patriots Tom Brady guy, that's for sure. So it just after the Falcons Super Bowl, it was like like how can you not respect what you just witnessed and the greatness, right? And I think that just solidified the fact that he's the GOAT. And I'm like, all right, I'm going all in here, and boy, am I glad I did.
So let me ask you, like, do you keep any Brady stuff like just in like that is a part of your like personal collection that you're like, this is something I'm gonna give to my son, 20 years from
Yeah, I call it kind of the Brady 401k because
now?
I kind of left the benefits package behind when I left teaching. I definitely, and I'm very open with people. Like, I get asked all the time, hey, I have X amount to spend. What should I go after with Brady? And, it's kind of a loaded question because, I'm trying to sell Brady. But I tell people, you go on my Instagram page, I pay $10 a month for a Flickr page. I keep all my cards on there, literally every single card I own, whether it's in my inventory for sale, whether it's PC. So you can literally go on there and see exactly what is in my PC and what I'm keeping long term. Now, do some things get plucked out of there, a couple of times a year, of course, right? But like, I
Yep.
have plenty of cards that I'm sitting on long term with Brady because I love cards.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I got
Crazy stuff.
so like and stuff I've had a long time, right? So like this isn't something I just picked up, last year, and I'm sitting. I've had stuff for 7, 8, 9 years that I still have. That I either love the card, or B, I think it's just a great long term play. And fortunately, a lot of those have worked out, right? So when you talk to me and ask me for advice about what Brady stuff to get into, like what I'm telling you, I put my money where my mouth is, right? Like you can see this is the stuff that I'm preaching to you that I have long term. And listen, at the end of the day, who knows where things are going to be in 10 plus years, right? But I know where, I want a lot of my hobby money parked, and it's in, Brady and the stuff that I'm sitting on long term there.
So talk me through this then, because you know, I think going into this podcast, I originally thought like, okay, Kevin, you PC Tom Brady, you move a couple, but for the most part, you collect them. Like you might put out doubles or something like that. So now understanding the fact that you're a Raiders fan and you've sold Tom Brady and you have a guy that has is as liquid as they come. Tom Brady stuff moves. It's always transacted. He's one of, he's the go. Like it's not hard to, to move Brady stuff. It doesn't fluctuate a ton. It's pretty safe. So talk me through this idea that, like, you've been collecting Brady for a long time. You hinted at this, like, hey, these are cards I'm going to keep forever, but a couple come out each year. You start getting into Brady before that Super Bowl. That's 2017. The Tom Brady market in 2017 is not what the Tom Brady market is today. Those are very different card markets. And I would imagine some of the return on investment for some of those Tom Brady cards is significant. So you give up teaching, you go into this full time. You've got the Tom Brady 401k, as you call it. Talk me through some of those decisions of when you collect a guy you believe in and you end up being extremely right on. And we're not talking like 500 to like 1,000 or 200 to 2,000. We're talking life-changing type money on the greatest football player ever. Talk me through some of those decisions on why, on selling some, keeping some, and, ultimately, like, what your mindset is when making some of those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different mindset now, doing this full time because obviously cards pay the
Yep.
bills, right? So, um, when I like to sit down and kind of almost like reprice my inventory every quarter. And when you do that and you see some of the potential return on investment, it almost makes it difficult to justify keeping it, right?
Yep.
And I've moved some pieces this year. The market's taken off big time, and I think that this year people like, a lot of times people are like, well, this is like COVID, it's a big bubble, blah blah blah. Like for me, I feel like while things have shot up tremendously, I feel like people have gotten smarter. Like you're not seeing prism-based cards go through the roof anymore like they did during COVID.
Yep.
Right? I think people have gotten smarter with their buying, and I think that's why goat stuff has kind of taken off versus some other
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But it's some difficult decisions, man. Like I moved a car at the National this year. A couple that I didn't think I would move, but people reach out, and these were cards I didn't make for sale. Like they were in my PC folders, and then you make it clear you don't have any ambition to move the card, and all of a sudden you get an offer, and you're like, wow, I have to strongly consider this, right? Because um, you know, a lot of the times when I move something like that, I have something similar. So while a couple
Yep.
really rare Brady cards and actually a couple big Peyton Manning cards I moved at the National this year, while I don't have that same exact card, I have something along those lines. So it kind of makes it a little easier. And then, just the concept of like hedging your bet a little bit, right? Like, all right, if I got a couple similar cards, cash out on one now because the return is so tremendous. And then, keep the other ones, right? Or, a big goal for me at the National this year was to kind of expand a little bit and kind of get some more vintage and Michael Jordan stuff specifically. So a lot of the money, it's tough because like it's tough to separate your inventory for the business and inventory that you want to keep, right? It becomes tougher and tougher year by year, right? But I
Yep.
want to make something very clear too for people who are thinking about getting into this full time. You can't just do it like this. I had like a 5 year plan, and I was fortunate in the sense that if I have a bad couple months or a bad year in sales, I can move some of those PC pieces that I know I'm going to make good money on and have that as a fallback plan. Like you can't just start with 10K and say, hey, I'm doing this full time. Here we go. Right? There's a lot of factors that go in. And the fact that I had a good fallback plan in case things don't go well for a couple months or a year, that was a huge part of it. So having that stuff, I want to sit on long term, and I want to, that's going to help pay for a vacation home down the road, or trips with the wife once we retire, or pass them down to Grayson and Kylie, my daughter, right? Um,
Yep.
Although she doesn't have any interest in cards, but she'll get some piece, right? But yeah, it's the decisions become difficult, but sometimes you get offers on stuff where it makes too much sense. And I will tell you, like, I learned a lesson during COVID. I should have moved more stuff during COVID, but I wasn't doing this full
Hundred
time. I was so
percent.
I was
100%.
so yeah, I was so attached to my cards, and I got cards that I was offered insane amounts of money on that I will never be offered again. So, and I still have
Mm-hmm.
those cards. So it's almost like it's a reminder, hey, learn a little bit from the past and learn lessons from moves you should have made when you didn't make. So I think that's been, and I say that, and I still have stuff I probably should sell right now. I just don't want to, right?
Yep.
Right, like it's
Yep.
but I've
Yep.
I've learned a little bit. That's why I've taken some stuff out of the PC folder this year that I didn't plan on selling. That it just made too much sense not to sell at this point. Or, I can think of one car in particular I moved. Like I had a Tom Brady 2018 Prism stained glass Gold Mojo PSA 10, and Prism only did Gold Mojo stained glasses 2 years. A buddy of mine, my friend Joaquin, very, one of my best hobby friends out there. Shout out to Live Doctor Evil. Um, it's in his PC now. He needed that to complete the set. He now has both PSA 10s, but that was a nice profit for me. But I took some of that money and put it into a Michael Jordan on card auto, something I wanted, right? So like I didn't just take the money off the table and go pay bills with it. I kind of pivoted it to something I've been wanting for a while. Maybe didn't necessarily feel comfortable buying, but all right, I
Yep.
made such a big profit here. Now I can get something I really want. So it was cool coming home. I'll tell you, man, like the National was insane this year, as you know, right?
Yeah. Oh,
But
yeah.
I made more PC pickups than I ever anticipated because I moved so much stuff. It's like, all right, man, I want to come home with some cool cards, right? So like, I
Yeah.
got some stuff that right, so it was
Oh, yeah.
it's fun. But the decisions aren't easy, but it's nice to have those decisions to make when you're sitting on some stuff that's has some insane value based on what you paid for it, based on what it's worth now.
Yeah, I think the COVID point is such a big one. I think that's one of the reasons I've moved on from a couple of the you know cards that are a little bit more outside of my comfort range. During the last 6 month you know boom, if that's what we're calling it, because there's a lot of things and things are starting to trickle back up there. But I remember, during COVID, like some stuff just got to numbers that just it seemed. I mean, it was just unheard of. Like the rises of some things, and we had a conversation recently with Darius, who works for all. He's been in the hobby similar like a long long time, and you know I think one of the things I remember most during COVID was this idea. Like, I'll never forget this. I bought a Brady 101 like shield, like absolute like Canton bound or Canton.
Okay.
It was like I bought it from Mike. I bought it from shout out to Mike MC, um, who's been on this pod. He had it at the Dallas show in like November of 2020, and I paid less for that than a Luca Prism Silver 10 was worth at the time. And I think
That's
that's one of the biggest
crazy.
things I remember from the COVID days is just looking at these two cards and saying, these two things are not like each other. I should be buying this stuff. That was honestly, Kevin, and I'm curious on why you collect him, but that's one of the biggest reasons I remember buying Peyton Manning stuff. I have some very nice Peyton Manning cards. I was buying all of Manning's shields that I could get when Brady stuff started to like when I was like, okay, a Brady shield patch non-auto is this, and a Peyton Manning shield auto is a fraction of this cost, and he only has like 9 or 10. Like he doesn't have too many of them from like those playing days. I'm like, I should be buying these cards. Like Peyton Manning will be remembered differently in time than he is currently being treated as. Again, like I think as time passes, the Peyton Manning argument is Peyton Manning's one of the greatest ever. He's overshadowed by the fact that he played against a 7-time Super Bowl champ in Tom Brady. But as history goes on, the Manning argument. So again, bigger, conversation around COVID in those days. But I would ask you, like, was there something in particular that made you want to collect Peyton? Like, was it your dad collecting him, or did you see, some kind of similarity there?
Well, the funny thing is, my dad didn't do cards at all, right? So he was just a sports guy. So he'd be taking me to the LCS, having no idea what's going on. So like so I didn't. I just kind of it was my good friend Mike and his dad did cards, and I kind of got into it through them, and we kind of went to the card shops together, and we went to some card shows. So, but I'll tell you, man, like go back to your comparing the Brady Shield to the Luca Prism, right? I made a ton of Brady purchases during that like 2017 to 2020 window, right? Because you
Yeah.
look at, I mean, talk about a horror story. I remember it vividly. I had a Giannis PSA 10 Prism base that they were doing like 5 or 6 grand, and I kept it because I'm like, oh, whatever. And then I think I sold it for like $800 or something. I don't even know, right? But like you look at a card like that where there's a million of them, and you look at something so rare like the Brady you just talked about, values shouldn't be equal, right? So you started to say, huh, like maybe I should be getting some more rare stuff that people might not necessarily know a ton about yet. And that was the move, right? I mean, I think a couple of those patents that you got in your PC, you got from me, by the way. I think we did. I remember doing a deal at Causeway
Probably
for
did.
one of
Yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. But yeah. So like for me, it was more so. It was less about comparing Peyton to Brady and more about comparing Peyton to the current quarterbacks who have nothing on their resume, who are selling for
Hmm.
5 times more than him. So that's where, and I definitely agree with the whole assessment of, all right, Brady is this and Peyton is 20th, like 20, it's 1/20th of what this is worth. I get that. But I also like, all right, why is this Peyton Manning card, which is awesome and rare, worth a fraction of this Justin Herbert card, right? So that's where, like, I was like, all right, at some point, you'd like to think that cooler heads prevail. Like, all right, maybe a top 5 quarterback all time, I would say top 3 is should be worth a lot more than these young quarterbacks that people are spending insane amounts of money on. And this is where
Hmm.
I'm trying to teach lessons to my son, right? So, Gray loves Jaden Daniels. Got a Jaden Daniels jersey, got it from Santa last year, right? He wanted every Jaden Daniels card on the planet last year. Well, what's happened to Jaden Daniels stuff this year? It's gone down tremendously, right? So, sometimes the only way you learn is through, actually physically doing it, right? And he's
Yep.
learning the hard way, right? So I've always been more of a blue chip investor, and
Yep.
more of a GOAT guy to begin with. But man, Peyton, I still think he's insanely undervalued, compared to what these young quarterbacks and things like that are selling for. So I've definitely slimmed down some of the Peyton, just like I make I call it the PC purge every year before the national. You kind of, I
Yeah.
sit
Yep.
down, take a night, and go through the PC and say, hey, what stuff is non-negotiable, not parting with, probably burying with me, coffin card, right? What
Yep.
stuff is all right? Really want to keep this. What stuff is like, all right, maybe I can part with this, right? And those decisions are tough, but I sold a ton of Peyton Manning at the National this year, like more than I ever have. Um, and the conversations were the same. It was, why is he so cheap? Like people looking at uh, um, Michael Penix rookie I have in my showcase, and then this Peyton Manning card, and they're the same price. It's like, this is not making sense. I said, tell me about it, right? Like I completely agree with you, right? So, yeah, just kind of always been a goat, blue chip type buyer, and fortunately, it's paid off. It's just all about your mindset. Like I've always had more of a long term mindset. It's different now that I'm doing it full time. I can't have a complete
Yep.
long term mindset on everything,
Yep.
but having that, and this is what I try to tell the younger generation that I deal with at shows, like, you know, it's okay to buy a couple cards and sit on them. Like you don't have to get rid of it in a week or two. Right now, young quarterback game
Yeah.
is completely different, right? But if you're coming to a card show with 500 bucks in your pocket, like it's okay to spend 100, 200 on a Brady and sit on it, right? Some of the biggest profits I've made on cards are stuff I've had for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I think that mindset is lost now in this constant flipper world. And so I just try to explain to people, if you have some money that you can, put into something and sit on it, it might pay bigger dividends down the road versus just, buying this and selling it to a repacker and making your 8% on your 8% margin.
Yep. 100%. All right. I want to pivot a little bit back to the goat. I think you're probably one of a handful of people that can sit here and say they got to make a deal with the actual goat. Fanatics Fest 23, like first one,
First one.
or 20,
Yep.
was it 24? 24 was first one, 25 was second one. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
so 24 Fanatics Fest. You get to make a deal with Tom Brady. Talk me through all of that.
Yeah. So first off, like for anybody who thinks that was staged, they're out of their mind, right? Yeah, I got so many messages like, was this set? I'm like, no, it wasn't set. Like I found out an hour before this happened that it was going to happen, right? So, long story short, we went to Fanatics Fest. Myself, friend Chris, Distress Cards, and then Papa Smitty Cards, who's the dad of Trevor from Card Vault.
Yep.
So very good friends of both of them. Shout out to my guys. Love those guys. And I had a couple people come over in the morning as we were setting up, and because I initially, like, I didn't have a booth there because I didn't know if I was going to be able to go. It was almost like a last minute thing. You want to talk about biggest life regret if I didn't go to the show, right? So I'm
Oh
glad.
God.
Right, seriously, I'm glad it worked out. So anyway, the booth wasn't under my name. So one of the dealer relations people came over and he's like, hey, nice to meet you in person. I didn't see you on the list originally. Glad you're here. He's like, you're the big Brady guy, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, he's like, I might swing back over and talk to you later. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Figure he wants to buy some cards. Right. And then, you know, I took a walk and I came back and my friend Chris was like, I'm pretty sure one of the top guys at Fanatics was just over here looking at our stuff and pointing out some cards. And I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, like an hour later, like around 11 a.m. on the Friday, a whole team comes over and says, "Hey, here's the deal. Um, you know, Brady's a big collector. He wants to come out and look at cards. You guys have the best Brady stuff in the room. Is it cool if we bring him over here?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool if you bring him over here." Right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, I
nah,
guess. I
yeah,
guess he
I'm
can.
a little busy actually. Tell him another day, whatever. But anyway, um, so around noon, I made 3 phone calls. I called my buddy Jay, JB13 Rips, who sets up me at the National, helps me out, and I told him, and he's like, the one bleeping show I don't come with you to. You're about to meet Tom Brady, right? Um, I called my brother and let him know, and then I called my wife, who was in a meeting, so Grayson picked up the phone, and I told him to tell. I said, "Great, tell mom I'm about to meet Tom Brady," and I texted her afterwards because I'm like, whatever Grayson's telling you right now is real. He's not fabricating this. It's legit, right? Um, so yeah, he around noon he came over, and you want to talk about. And listen, I'm not a very nervous guy by nature. But when you got the goat standing in front of you, it's a little different, right? So after I got through the first minute of being insanely nervous, it was just like a normal conversation like we're having right now, which shows you how cool and down to earth he is. And all the videos got posted, different clips, and the thing people don't realize, he was with us for about 10 minutes, right? And we the most common question I got asked, why didn't you ask for an autograph? Why didn't you ask for a picture? And I talked to the guys in the booth and I said, listen, here's the deal. We're not going to beg this guy for this stuff because that's what everybody does. I said, we're just going to treat him like a normal guy. And I think that's why he stuck around so long, to be honest with you. Right? I figured 2 to 3 minute interaction. He comes over, looks at a couple cards. He looks great. Fanatics looks great. We look great, and it's over. But he was with us for literally 9 to 10 minutes, just talking about all this different stuff, looking at cards. The video got put out about his rookie signature and how that
Yep.
transformed.
Yep.
I mean, I've probably bought and sold 500 Brady autos. I never knew there was a 12 inside the B. Like, that was mind blowing, right? So to hear that, like, the first time that information got released, like a conversation with me and my buddies with Brady was just so cool. Um, yeah, he ended up buying 2 cards. He bought, obviously, he's a huge Montana guy, being from that area. So he bought, I had a dual Brady Montana auto, and my friend Chris did as well, and he bought them both. So,
Is that the Sterling auto?
yeah, so he actually bought the Sterling auto off my friend Chris. I had the passing the torch one with Brady
Mm,
in the front and Montana in the
yeah,
back. So he
Montana
ended
in
up
the
buying,
back. Yeah.
yeah, he ended up buying them both. So, it's just, put it this way, Ryan, it's a story I never get tired of telling. Literally, we're talking a year and a half removed now, and I literally just told the story again at a show the other day. Somebody came in and said, "Oh, I haven't seen it in a while. How did it go?" I'm like, so literally, it's the gift that keeps on giving, man. And to say that was good for business would be the understatement of the year. So,
Yep.
huge thank you to Tom Brady, Fanatics, Tops, everybody who was a part of that,
Yep.
that made that happen. And it was just, as if I couldn't respect the guy anymore. The fact that he gave time of day to some random dad set up at a show, with his cards was just so cool, man. So, it was just such an awesome experience. And, literally at my wall right now, sitting next to me, is an article the paper did, about, Barberville High School basketball coach does card deal with Tom Brady. So like it was cool because they got my basketball program got exposure through it too, because once I put it on my Twitter page, which I strictly use for coaching, I started getting like insane amount of messages, text. Like there was news stations at the house and things like that. It was it was crazy, man, and it's always puts a smile on my face thinking and talking about that experience and how cool that was.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's I think that's a dream for most, and to say you got to do it is incredible. And I think you brought it up, but man, got to give a lot of, like you said, you got to give a lot of love to like Tops Fanatics for you know that's what's cool about Fanatics Fest is like they are not shy about using their relationships with these athletes to make these things happen. I mean, we were neighbors. Uh, I think it's Alex at Through the Decades was set up on like the end booth, and we were right next to him in the front of the aisle, literally next door when Victor came up and did a deal. Dude's 8 feet tall.
Crazy. Yeah.
Just out there on the show floor doing a deal. You see the Brady thing. This is. I just, man, how cool is it that those guys are just, that Tops is bringing that to life at that show. It's cool. I mean, obviously, I don't think it gets any better in the industry than Tom Brady. I mean, he's obviously a big part of it now, and but man, what a cool thing. Definitely, excited for you. Jealous for sure, but excited for you for someone that's collected, Brady as long as you have.
And the
But
crazy part was, and I didn't tell a ton of people this, but so this year Fanatics Fest, he was booked solid. Like they had him everywhere Fanatics Fest this year.
yeah,
So I don't think he got out and about a ton, but Friday morning, him and his massive security team walked by the booth, and we were setting up, and he looked at me, and then he stopped and he double taked and he said, "Hey man, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey Tom, good to see you again." So like, and my buddy goes, he literally looked at you, looked at your logo, because I gave him a coaster. Like, I know it's kind of corny probably to the public, but it's just what I do, right? So I have this image in my head of Tom having his coffee every morning and taking it off my coaster, right? But but clearly the logo he remembered, which was cool. It was just like, I don't want to say that was as cool as the first experience, but it was pretty cool the fact that he remembered who I was and the logo, and just it gave me a wave. It was cool. So that's all I
that's
needed at
amazing.
Fanatics Fest this year. That was cool.
That's amazing. Complete 360. You mentioned setting up with a couple of the local guys at Fanatics Fest. We obviously share a lot of, mutual friends with, Mike, Matt, Chris, so many of the, Trent, so many of the guys out there. Why is Boston like the best place in the country for cards? Like, why is that area just? I mean, it's full of some of the the best people in this space. Why is that?
I literally have no idea, man. But like, I have some great relationships out here. We're spoiled with shows. We have a ton of shows out here. Like, I talk to people at the National all the time who are like, I have no shows in my area, and I just can't imagine that in my head. Like, if there were no shows in our area, right? So we all met and made connections through shows. But like, when I first started setting up the National, Mike was the guy I was with, right? It was me, Mike, and Matt. Chris. I said, Chris Costa was in there one year. Take it back to Chris Quick and Sign. Was
Yep,
in there
yep,
one. So like, I have all these great memories of setting up with these guys at shows. It's obviously different now. Everybody's kind of gone their different ways with the business and things like that. And, finally
yep,
have my own spot at the National this year, which was absolutely awesome. Right. And,
yep. Oh
be
yeah,
there again this year. So it's, seeing your own name on the National website with your own spot is pretty cool from my
yeah, oh yeah,
standpoint.
for sure.
It's cool. So yeah, it's I have no idea. I have no answer for you there, man. It's just I'm fortunate to be in an area with a lot of awesome people, and done so many awesome deals throughout the years with people. Cards I still have in my PC. Like, for prime example, right? You talk about big Brady cards. My 2014 Flawless, the first year Flawless 4-color patch auto of Brady. I got
Monster.
that from Mike. We literally we went over his house a few probably 5 or 6, 7 years back now, played some cards and had some drinks and did some card deals. That was one of the cards I got. So like, just a relationship there, and a social event that turned into a trade night type deal. It's just awesome. I'm definitely spoiled having so many great people in this area. That's for sure.
Yeah, I always love going to Boston. Love the people in Boston. I mean, just that again. I say Boston, like just it's like one town, but like that whole part of the East Coast is great. But you've mentioned shows a couple times, and as we wrap up here, I'm just you know why are shows? Why do you think shows are such a big part of your your journey in cards? Like, what is it about setting up at a show that intrigues you so much?
Yeah, I mean, I think the social aspect to it's big for me. I
Yep.
love talking to people and doing deals in person, right? And um, I'm also I kind of got a unique perspective in the sense that I've dealt with so many different types of people and kids through my teaching career that
Yep.
I think there's a comfortability for people when they deal with me. And we know that everybody who walks into a show isn't super social, right? There's a lot of introverted people out there, and I've had a lot of experience dealing with all different types of people in different walks of life. So I think that is a benefit to me, setting up for the shows, and I love doing it. Right, like I have, it's awesome to say that I have people who say to me locally, "I come to the show to deal with you," and that's it. So it's humbling when you hear stuff like that. You know, um, and you have that, right? When you go to a bigger show, people are coming to deal with you, brother. So it speaks volumes to your following and how you deal with people. So that's big to me. I'm fortunate right now in the business model that I don't have to do a ton of stuff online. Like, I'm doing well enough at shows where I'm good, right? And because people are always asking, when are you going to get back on eBay? When are you going to, why not more story sales? Is a card shop in the future? And I'm like, listen, right now, my future is my kids and my family for
For
as
sure.
long as my business model right now can sustain that until I got to do something else. Right. So,
Yep.
shows are my business model, right? Like without shows, I'm not doing this full time right now. So, um, and fortunately, I'm doing well enough locally where I got to scale back the travel a little bit this year to be at home a little more. And I love traveling. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I love going to shows. The Midwest Monster one I see you at yearly. That's like, while it's a business trip for me, it's a social trip. Shout out to Andy and Indy Card Exchange and those guys. Like, just some of the best people in the hobby, and I love going out there. So, been to Chicago, been to Dallas. Obviously, we have solid, good shows in our area out here.
Hmm.
Causeway, they had Fenway back in the day. There's just, you know, it's cool. It's just, even talking to you now with being 3 years in on this, it's crazy to sit here and say, I set up a card shows for my full time job. It truly is crazy. And it's just puts a smile on my face, brother. It really does. It's absolutely awesome.
I love that, man. That's yeah. While I don't do shows full time, like I don't. It's not a part of like our business as much. Outside of like the 10 to 12 we set up at a year, it's I I can totally resonate with the social aspect of the show, like being able to like catch up with people and just meet so many people, and like the building the relationships piece is such a big thing for us. Like that's oftentimes we're all, like you said earlier with like some of the Boston guys, like you've all kind of gone your separate ways, but I feel like shows are always the spot where you can kind of catch up and reconnect and check in with like you said, some of the best people in the space. So yeah, I'll never get tired of shows, and I'm sure you would say the same, like grateful to be able to go to as many as I do. It's something I definitely wouldn't change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people too, like sometimes it's not about sales at a show. If 10 people
Hmm.
take your business card and it leads to a deal down the road, that's a big part of it. I literally met an 80-year-old gentleman in a parking lot yesterday to buy some vintage cards off him because he took my business card at a show. Right. So just little things like that. You never know, where setting up can lead to. So just
Yep.
little stories like that are cool.
As we wrap it up, I want to ask one question to you. Right, you start in coaching, you get into Brady. Now we sit here, and you're full time. Like you're in this for the long haul. But if knowing what you know now, with all of the knowledge you've acquired in decades of doing this, if you're starting over today, Kevin, what would be the one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Yeah, I think that I wish I had more of a long-term mindset sooner, because we talk about how I've got some great returns on Brady stuff buying him before the Falcons Super Bowl. Imagine if I was doing that before that, right? Because I
Yep.
was always, listen, I was a young teenage kid too. I wanted all the guys who are playing currently, and it was just fun to have, right? But I think that if I would have had a more long-term mindset initially in this hobby, um,
Yep.
we probably have that Cape house we want to buy down the road already, right? So I preach this to young kids all the time. Like, I understand the flipper mindset. I understand you don't have the bankroll, maybe sit on stuff, right? But if you can buy something of somebody you believe in and sit on it long term, a go who's established, it's a blue chip stock. You really can't go wrong with a Brady, a Jordan, a Mantle, a Gretzky. I'd even throw Mahomes in that category at this point now with where he stands in the NFL, right? Despite the Chiefs' struggles this year, but like it's okay to make long term plays and not have to sell a card, 2 weeks after you get it. And I did have that mindset soon enough where it paid off. But if I had it a little sooner and I was able to, have the bankroll to do that, I'd be in a much better position than I am right now. But it's tough. It's tough to have a long term mindset sometimes. But if you do and you can afford to do that, it can definitely pay off major dividends down the road. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, for sure.
I would probably say the same. It's like like you said earlier, it's hard to give that kind of it's hard because like I wish I would have done the same, but I also look back at some of the COVID days and be like, I wish I would have sold everything.
I
So
know, right?
certainly you know a, a double edged sword. But last but not least, if people want to find you online, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can follow my Instagram page, to Captain37. I'm on there actively. My normal card of the day posts, and things slow down a little bit for me during high school basketball season because my focus is there. But always posting where I'll be at shows on my page and in my story posts and things like that. So you can always reach me through there.
Amazing. Well, make sure you guys check out Kevin. Kevin, thank you again for coming on and for the time today.
Really appreciate having me on, Ryan. This was a blast. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. Stock Watch with my guy, Gabe Card Stacks. Today, we're going to talk about the first round of the CFP. More college football players are in the portal. We'll talk about that. We've got a value box play for this week. We'll preview the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day bowl games as the college football playoff continues. But first, the usual. We'll start with stock up, stock down. Gaby, how are we doing today?
I'm great, Ryan. I mean, we got a lot to talk about. Stock up, stock down. We got a value bin. We got quarterfinals. We got bowl games coming up. We got transfer portal activity. We got bowl games coming up. I know there's a lot of opt outs and transfers and portaling, but this is like Christmas. This is truly Christmas with just college football every day on my TV. Drama on Twitter with the portal. I'm excited.
I mean, the guy's like it's like Christmas time. I mean, it essentially is Christmas time. This is a Christmas week episode. You've got the Christmas tree in the back. Brian and the team probably should have been a little bit more prepared with maybe some lights or some festive decorations on this tree behind me here. We're not prepared. That's on us. You are prepared. You've come. You've brought the festives to the show. So hats off to you, man, for stepping up the show this week.
Yeah, I had to, little holiday episode.
Little holiday episode. All right. Well, we'll start with the good, right? Good time, Christmas. I know you're not the Christmas is the number one holiday kind of guy. So we'll start. I'm a little bit more of a Christmas guy. We'll start with, maybe my list, maybe the positive, the stock up, the Christmas is here. We'll start with the stock up.
All right, yeah, we'll start with the good stuff, then we'll get to the coal later. Stock up. Ty Simpson
Mm,
back on top.
mm. You're a guy. You're a guy.
Yep, yep. I wanted nothing to do with this game, Alabama, Oklahoma. I just did
Mm-hmm.
not care. Both teams, yuck. But Ty, now that they were like, "Oh, is he coming back to school?" When that game was when they were down 17-0, people were like, "Ty should just enter the draft. They don't even want him back next year. Keelan Russell's the guy. He's not a DeBoer guy. He should just leave while he can, and otherwise he'll transfer to Middle Tennessee Tech is where they probably wanted him to go." So I'm I'm loving all the draft hype. Wow, look at all these throws. Look at all this. So he's kind of back up. Don't know what, the next game will bring, but for a guy who was slumping and just that entire team, to be honest, was just struggling at the end of the year. Just a
Mm-hmm.
lot of chatter. They're just limping into the playoffs. Should they be in? Come up with a win on the road. A lot of road wins this week. And yeah, Ty Simpson back up.
I know we've made the claim here in this episode that this is your guy, but because you didn't pick your guy to win, you definitely said Boomer Sooner. Now he wins. Just want to clarify here. Still your guy, not your guy. Like, how does that work?
Still my guy. Maybe it was
Okay,
a reverse jinx, but yeah,
gotcha.
I
The
mean, I
Gaby
just
card stacks reverse jinx.
yeah, I didn't want I again going back to our conversation before, 14 playoff. That's neither here nor there, but I'm in on a 14 playoff. I didn't need to watch a lot of this, but I'll take it. But yeah, Ty Simpson still my guy, but I was like, you know what? There's just too much going against them. I cannot, even though I don't like Oklahoma.
I will have a point about this game about Ty Simpson. I'll save it for later when we recap. So we'll continue on to number two.
Okay, number two. Pretty big performance from a guy who, like, I remember at the beginning of the year there were a couple guys who were like, "Hey, Gaby, Mark Fletcher," and I'm like, I don't really like it. Jordan Lyles
Mm-hmm.
there, he's a freshman, he stole some reps. They brought in Shamar Brown from North Dakota State. I'm like, I don't love it. And he was okay. He started losing some touches to Gerard Pringle, this little freshman kid who led the rushing in each of the last four games. And now this kid, Mark Fletcher, like 17 yard or 10 yards of carry, 17
Yeah,
carries, I think
yeah.
172 yards. Crazy.
172.
So I sold a couple of his autos, and that was probably a $8 auto, and now they're up to 20. So I know a couple people sold some of his higher. I think an orange sold for about 40. So nothing crazy, but a guy who really didn't have a whole lot of impact all season, really, I would argue. And
Yeah,
now peaking at the right time in an ugly game, and
yeah,
now
yeah.
has some hype for sure.
Yeah, again, I have a lot of thoughts about these games, so I'm going to wait until we get into there to talk specifics about the game. But yeah, Sapphire 10, first auto, 175, just sold December 20th. Interesting. Again, we haven't talked a lot about this. I know I've covered this a little bit. Mark Fletcher is actually one of the guys with game used patch auto from Best in this year's Best. He's got the vertical RPA. Obviously, we've talked about it with vertical being the RPAs that are game worn, horizontal RPA being player worn. But Bowman's Best in 25 features Mark Fletcher and the vertical patch auto. I actually have one of them numbered to 10. It's actually inscribed. I'll see if I can find it. I'll text you a picture of it. But some of his stuff's been doing pretty well. Like a 3-color just did 65, a 1-color to 75 just did 35, and then a base jersey auto did $30. So might be time to list this Mark Fletcher game use patch auto to 10. I got kind of chilling. But yeah, pretty cool addition to obviously this year's Bowman's Best that we've talked about, but probably a decent time to sell a guy. And we've talked about this. I'm sure it'll come up later, but we've talked about people, all eyes are on the college football playoff. If you watch college football, if you buy college football cards, you're locked into this. And, it's not by accident Mark Fletcher cards sold after 172-yard playoff game in round 1. So this won't be the last time we have a conversation about somebody on Stockwatch having a big game and their cards going up. We'll see in, 10 days.
Yeah. So also on the note of game used, I'm noticing the vertical outsells significantly more than just the horizontal. I know those aren't game used, but like the game used definitely is like commanding a premium in the market.
Yeah, a Mark Fletcher base jersey auto. I think if you go back throughout the years and you look at like, okay, what does a base jersey auto from Best sell for versus a first sell for? Pick any random like running back. I'm going to guess 90% of the time the Bowman Chrome first auto is the more desirable card. It's going to sell for more. So to see a base jersey auto from Best that's game worn outsell a Bowman Chrome first auto, that is significant. Like, don't underplay the fact that Bowman's Best is not the superior product to Chrome. Now we have game-used patch autos in a college football product in modern-day NIL where these guys are playing in games and you can pull their game-used jersey patch autos. That doesn't happen a lot across multiple sports, like the professional leagues. Like, it's not a dime a dozen to get game-used patch autos. Like, we've lived through, Panini has a lot of player-worn stuff. It's not common to get game-used patch autos these days. Like, Topps has talked about bringing that back, but this is clearly intentional, some intentional effort from Topps to do so. So $30 for a jersey auto that's game-worn, I don't... I don't find that to be insignificant. That means something.
Yeah, no doubt. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that out. All right, number 3, I'm going to go, very popular pick right now, I'm sure, but just Dante Moore in general. I just feel like, and he threw 2 picks, which not great against, JMU, should they belong. I got to give credit to them. You'll probably talk about it, but hey, they hung in there. Nonetheless, Dante Moore, I mean, they were just talking number 1 pick the entire broadcast. This is McShay's guy, Kuiper's guy, number 1. All 4 hours of this game, and they were like, "What is he still doing in this game?" Like, hey kid, you got to get out, and game's already won, right? So Dante Moore, big win, and just I feel like a lot of people, if you were I'm just a casual college football fan, and you were watching that game, like you now know Dante Moore is a top 1 or 2 pick right now.
Yep.
So I just imagine now you come out with a pretty big win, you put up 50 on them, and now you get Texas Tech favorites in that game as well, which is pretty crazy. And
who's favorited? Oregon?
Oregon, 1.5.
I mean, wow. Yeah, it's crazy what, you take the Indiana loss, you pass a month. Ever since that month passed to now, I mean, what are we talking, 4, 5, 6 weeks here? The Dante Moore hype train is full steam ahead since that Indiana loss. Again, like you talked about, I've seen mock drafts with him going number 1 over Mendoza. It's been Mendoza for a long time. Obviously, Mendoza wins the Heisman, but they lost that game in Indiana October 11th. So you've had 6 weeks-ish of nothing but Dante Moore moving up the draft boards. Dante Moore, Oregon feels good. He's coming back to school. Dante Moore, is he going to go pro? Like, this dude's going to be a top pick. It's going to be Mendoza and Dante Moore near the top. it's, then you'll get into some of these like defensive guys where it's going to be Arvell Reese, Ruben Bain Jr., Caleb Downs will be high. You'll have Tate and Tyson pretty high on the board, and then you'll get into like the Proctors, like the linemen, Caden Proctor, the couple kids from Utah will be pretty high on the list. I'm sure there's the Francis kid from Miami will be pretty high on the list. Like, you're going to see some guys go up there. But I just have this feeling you're going to get 1-2 Dante Moore, Mendoza at this point. Going to be interesting. We'll see. But yeah, the Dante Moore hype train is in. I mean, do you think it gets more crazy? Like, I mean, I guess it's going to be dependent on how much success they have. But if he comes out and dices up Texas Tech, this train might just. It might reach top speed here pretty quickly if they beat Texas Tech and he looks good. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy. If he does dice up Texas Tech, the narrative is going to be like, this is such, like, sure, everyone knows, like, Texas Tech, like, they will get more respect now because Dante Moore diced them up. I feel where it's like, it plays into the narrative of like, wow, this was the most elite defense in America, and Dante just diced them up. So
I'm ready for the Dante Moore dicing them up game. The Dan Lanning just, exhilarating post-game interview. And then it's going to lead to, what is it, Lubbock? Is that right?
Yes.
The Lubbock Station News or whatever it's called, whatever the local newspaper in Lubbock will say, a quarterback away, right? We need a quarterback. Who's the savior? And Patty Mahomes Jr., transfer portal talk to Texas Tech to, follow in the path of his idol. Dylan Raiola to Texas Tech rumors start swirling. And sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. We need the, Mahomes signs for Panini now. He signed that 1-year deal, so he signed autographs with Panini. I need the Dylan Raiola, Patrick Mahomes passing the torch card in next year's Prism draft picks. I need it. I'm ready for the the full circle moment here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That would be hysterical. So, no complaints.
All right, now it's time for the Gabe card stacks part of this. It's Christmas is not an elite holiday. This is Cole season. It's time for stock down.
Yes, I'll play my role as the Grinch here. And this guy, oh, Ryan, I'm just this guy. All year I've been saying, you know what? Marcel Reed hasn't even played his best game yet. And that's going to make Texas A&M terribly just no one wants to face them when Marcel Reed is on. And you know what, Ryan? There's been 13 games and Marcel Reed has not been on. So maybe there's a reason he has not played his best game yet.
Shoot.
And I'm just like, what are we doing here? And I want no part of You know what's crazier? Last year, I love doing the off-season digging and everything. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy some Jacob Zeno this offseason because Marcel Reed had 6 turnovers in his final 2 games to end the 2024 season. And now he's doing the same exact thing this season. I don't know why I was in on this kid. I'm like, oh, he hasn't even reached his full potential. And guess who fell for it? Me. I look like a loser, and Marcel Reed stock down.
Man, I really thought at the end they were driving. I'm like, they're going to do this. They're going to go for 2. Here it is. And sure enough, I mean, what was it? Some like cross route in the back of the end zone, like threw it right to him. Man, boring game to begin with. I'm sure we'll get into that, but we had talked about that. Like, we had talked about this when we were previewing that. To me, this was the toss-up. I thought Alabama was going to beat, Oklahoma, but this game, like, when we talked about it, we said Texas A&M didn't play anybody in the better half of the SEC. They played Notre Dame. What was that, week 2? They beat Notre Dame, and then it was like, okay, they haven't played anybody. Bro, 3 points. I mean, what are we doing? 25 of 39, 237 yards, and 2 interceptions. Yikes. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah.
Now, Carson Beck didn't do anything either. I'm sure we'll get into this, but 14 of 20, 100 yards and 103 yards and a touchdown. So, what a sloppy game.
Yeah. Special teams were brutal. Just nothing going. 3 points at home. Marcel Reed, are you a mouse or a man? I think he's a mouse.
Yikes. Tough look.
Yeah. All right. Number two. Again, I was like, I want no part in this game, but I, yeah, it's not like he was terrible, terrible, but I'm just like, you know what? If this guy were a dude, he would have done it. John Mateer, and I saw some like color autos doing like $50 over the weekend, where I'm like, ooh, that's like, this was one of the top guys at product release, and prior to the hand injury, it was like, hey, he could win the Heisman. Hey, they've got the daunting schedule. Credit to them, they made it to the playoffs with that. But yeah, just John Mateer, I'm kind of like, you know what? I don't think he's the dude either, and it might get to a point, Ryan, where this offseason, maybe some of his stuff does dip low enough where I'm like, all right, maybe I'll buy
Yeah.
back in. You got to see what happens with the portal. But right now, I'm just like, just ugly.
Mateer's one I have a hard time like beating too much. Like if that again, we don't live in the world of ifs. I know that, but what was it? Second quarter, 3rd and 10. He scrambled. He should have ran for the first down. He would have been wide open. Instead, he threw the ball 30 yards down the field, hit the receiver in the hands, and the dude dropped it. They punt, and it was like, I think it was 17-0 at that point, and then it just score, 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 score. And next thing you know, it's 34 to. I mean, I think they scored 34 to. I think they outscored him 34-3 from that point, or 34-7. I mean, they just. He would have picked up the first down. They would have been in field goal range, driving up 17-0. It'd have been full, slaughter. And sure enough, didn't happen. And yeah, it was ugly. Yeah, I mean, it was 17-0. Then it was 17-7 at half, and then they scored 7 more points again. So 34 to 24. Yeah, I didn't think he looked awful. I mean, 300 yards, 26 of 41, 2 touchdowns. I don't think he was the problem, but man, I saw that drop ball, I'm like, oh god, dude was wide open. Could have ran for the first down. Mateer's not a guy I look at. Again, I feel the same way about Mateer probably as like Sellers, where like I watch the games. I'm like, dude, he makes some good throws. Like he makes some plays. Like he doesn't look like the worst quarterback I've ever watched. Like every time I've ever seen Tua throw the ball, I'm like, this dude is not any good at football. I've died on that hill for 5 years. And I watched John Mateer. I'm like, this dude's not the worst quarterback I've ever seen play football. I couldn't believe they lost the game. Couldn't believe I
Yeah.
picked Alabama, and I'm like, they should win this game. They're not losing to Oklahoma twice. They've won big games. Like this is a program that like has excellence around them. Oklahoma's never won a college football playoff game ever. They're 0 for 5. They've never ever ever won one. Took Alabama 17-0 early, and I'm like, they might
hmm
throttle them at home. Yeah, they didn't. They choked that away. Bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It could have been a John Mateer legacy game for sure. Like just
Could have been.
beating the brakes off Alabama, and he would have been on stock up, no doubt. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just yeah, don't think that ended the way that the Mateer investors would like. But again, if prices do get to a point, I think I'd probably dive in and see what's up.
And that's what's so interesting about that is we would have had one of them on stock up and one of them on stock down, really no matter what. Because if Ty Simpson would have lost another game, back-to-back losses to end the year, they would have booed him out of Tuscaloosa. It would have been all bad for Ty Simpson. Now he's got a shot at the number 1 team in America, number 1 team in the CFP, an undefeated Big Ten champ, Heisman Trophy winner. Man, storylines write themselves. We'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, last one. Hate to kick Oklahoma while they're down, but this is a guy that
Hmm.
I talked about a little bit just on my social media. Jaden Ott.
Yep.
So some background, some context. This guy was runner-up for Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. Rest in peace to the Pac-12. Like 1,000 yards as a true freshman, 1,000 yards as a sophomore. Had like 3,000 total yards, 30 touchdowns first 2 years, and then goes to Oklahoma and just I think he had like 60 yards this season. He was injured. They were like, oh, doesn't know the offense. I think he had to, unfortunate with like Berkeley. I think he had to stay like all summer there to graduate before transferring. So he was late and then just injured. Then I don't know. I don't know what happened to this kid, but just tremendously down. I've picked up yellow and gold Bowman first autos for like $5 to $10. And I'm just like, you know what? It's to me worth, again at that price. I'm willing to throw some darts there for the draft, get healthy, figure it out. The talent, I think, it's just worth it. So, but stock down like tremendously.
Yeah. Yeah, his stuff doesn't move, a whole lot. Out of 75 yellow, non-first, $6, first refractor, $3. Like, yeah, it's I mean, I don't follow him closely enough. Like, is he done? Like, this isn't a portal kid. This is a like, thanks for playing football kind of kid.
It might be. You know what? Let's see
Says
here.
he's a senior on ESPN.
Yeah, okay, that sounds right. Yes, because okay, so yeah, because junior year he was at Cal and he was just riddled. He had like 300 yards at Cal, and it was like, dude, what is happening with Jaden Ott? Like he was one of the best
Yeah,
rushers.
he had under
So yeah, this
100 yards this year
yeah, in total.
total.
So I don't know if that, maybe that counts as a red shirt or a medical red shirt or whatever might happen there. But at this point, I am accepting he's going to the draft. And I'm like, you know what? If anyone wants to join me and buy some of these Bowman First refractor autos for $3, I'm opening up the fan club because I was a huge fan of him. And I'm like, you know what? His prices are just way down. So I think there are worse dart throws for the draft.
We'll see. That's like the most optimistic Grinch, Cole like stock down person ever. Like, hey, this guy stinks. He had 60 yards. Like, he was really good. Now he stinks. He's terrible, and I'm buying his stuff for $3 for the draft. So very interesting. Third guy on stock down this week.
You know what? Maybe my heart is just growing, Ryan.
Yeah, they just grow. One size that player. All right. Well, let's talk about it. Like, thoughts from the first round. Like takeaways after opening weekend.
I mean, I guess just based off the games, again, like Alabama, like I don't know if I put that much stock in beating Oklahoma again. It's just not a game that I'm like in love with. Two teams that I'm in love with. So would love to
Yep.
see that's Indiana, right? They're
Yep. 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 Yep.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Would love to see a competitive game there, but I'm not really expecting much. Although, one thing, but I know all the statistics were like, hey, the home team hasn't lost in the college football playoffs, and then we get these
Mhm.
two games. But then you also have the other side where it's like, hey, the teams that had the bye, I don't know what the record is for teams with the bye, but they don't tend to do so well, and that's
Yeah, the problem is last year is we gave Boise State a bye. It's just like getting JMU and Tulane in this year. It's like we're putting these teams in, they're like, oh yeah, they earned it, and then they get boat raced. Like
yes,
they get boat raced. So like Boise State had a bye. They didn't have. I think who they play last year? Penn State. Like
Penn
they
State.
played somebody and got throttled.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how these because that's a month off of games basically for anyone who had a bye, 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, a month,
Um,
a month.
so just tough to get that going. In terms of what was the other? Oh, Miami. Yeah, that was just an ugly game. Special teams, whatever. Texas A&M, I want no part in them. Miami, I'm like, yeah, just still meh, not for me. And then where are we going next? Tulane, I was like, yeah. What the crazy thing is, Tulane like wasn't it wasn't like they played their best game they possibly could and still got
Yeah,
blown out by 5, 6 possessions.
yeah, yeah.
So just not great. It's the same exact result we saw earlier in the year. Again, what are we doing? So hopefully the committee we can reconvene and get some change here. And then credit to JMU. You know what?
Well,
I
backdoor
wanted
cover.
yeah. Oh, that was clutch. I was like, you know what? I have not been interested in any of these games. I'm going JMU to cover because I'm a sick person. If they get crushed, I enjoy it. If they don't, then I'll make a little money. So, yeah, they covered in the end, which was great. That 2 point conversion prior to like the final score, I was like, oh, that's the spread right there. I had a 21 and a half. But yeah, credit to them. They played hard and they gave it their all, and they were actually, first half not so much competitive, and then they started leaning up in their chair when they're down like 40 and 2K, right? But yeah, credit to them. They fought hard. Alonzo Barnett, a guy I was gonna put him honorable mention stock down just because I'm like, hey, his like JMU, are people really gonna want his stuff? But like some coaches were probably watching that game and being like, hey, he's only a junior. Might we
Hmm.
bring him in? If I'm a low end group of five guy, if I need a quarterback at like an Arkansas or something, I'm like, hey, or low power five, this guy might be a dude for us. So
What about
I don't think that's a horrible.
Is Pavia done at Vandy?
Yes, yeah, and he's going to the Panini Senior Bowl.
So what about like a transfer there for like a bridge for Jared Curtis? I mean, Jared Curtis is the number one player in America, so I don't know if he's gonna get a bridge, but I think about that like because I think you're right. Like I don't think he's gonna go to like Penn State, but I think he's definitely got an opportunity to go somewhere and play next year. I mean, he's good.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good little player. He showed what he had, and I was very impressed with JMU. Still, did I need to watch that? Would I have rather have watched your Texas, Vandy, Notre Dame, BYU? Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I think that was one of my biggest takeaways is like we don't the turn this we don't need to expand this. We don't need to. Like there's no need to. 16 teams wouldn't have done anything. Like it. We don't need to expand this. I think your point is fair in the second round where it's like, okay, Ohio State's had 3+ weeks off. Georgia, Indiana, like Texas Tech, those teams have been off. Like they haven't played since championship weekend. Christmas is gonna come and go. Like they're kind of chilling. Like, how do you are you rusty? Like, are you gonna come out and like play to your capabilities? Like, how does Ohio State rebound post loss? Like, no love at the Heisman, no Blitnikoff for the best receiver in America is wild. Like, mind you, this is also a place that gave Jalen Hyatt the Blitnikoff over Marvin Harrison. So, like, that award is essentially useless now. That's neither here nor there. But it's like, how do these teams, shake? Like, how do these games shake out? Like, I'm excited for the second round, but I look at the first round and I'm like, we should have play-in games. Like, we don't need 12. Like, we should have play-in games. Like, some of these games, like, there's just not the need for this many teams. Like, 12 is plenty. If you want to get in, win your games. Like, simple as that. Like, Notre Dame should have got in, and then you could have come down. Like, Notre Dame should have got in. I will die on that hill that Notre Dame is one of the best 5 teams in America. And then it should have been BYU, Texas, one of those two. Do you punish the Texas, the Longhorns for playing Ohio State week 1? Or do you not punish BYU for losing in championship weekend like you did an Alabama team? But interesting debate because both teams that got in over Notre Dame won their games. Both of them. Miami won, Bama won. I'm ready for round 2. Again, the Tulane and JMU games were not exciting. JMU put up 34 points on Oregon. That seems like a lot. I know Oregon scored 51 points. That seems like a lot. Like, I don't know if I would love Ohio State giving up 34 points to JMU. That doesn't seem like a great number for me. How, which Texas Tech team are we going to get if that defense plays nearly as capable as they can and the offense can score a couple points? That's a tough matchup for Dan Lanning. Some of these other ones intrigue me because I look at Ohio State and I look at Indiana. I'm like, these teams should clearly win. These 10-point line. Like, I know the Ohio State game's up to like 10 and a half. Ohio State, like, again, I realize I'm biased. That's a good football team. The best receiver in the country plays there. The defense is loaded with first rounders. Carson Beck had 100 yards. 100 yards. Like, so I look at that, but I'm like, this is the playoff, man. You've been offered for 25 days. Can you get up to play Miami? We'll see. Like, you're coming off a loss. A lot of people saying, not really legit, like not the best receiver, not the Heisman Trophy winner. Like, I don't know. I'm excited for round 2, but round 1, yeah, ready to move on from that. It wasn't super exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited for Ohio State, Miami, because that 10 and a half, Ryan, that's 2 possessions right there. That's a lot of pressure to live up to that, not playing the rest versus rust and all that. I don't love Miami, but it's like that's kind of a lot for a playoff
No,
game.
Jeremiah Smith. I mean, he's already talking. He was talking earlier about Miami fans been bringing up the national championship since 2002. He said we got something for him on New Year's Eve. So this is a school that went after Jeremiah Smith on signing day, wanted him hard, came down to the wire. Obviously tried to get him in the portal last year. Like, he's from right there in Miami Gardens in Florida. They're basically in his backyard. So he obviously this. I said it before. I'm gonna say it again. This is a Jeremiah Smith legacy game. This is Jeremiah Smith, like, first play, like, 3rd and 11 against Notre Dame. Like, they put the student single coverage. Jeremiah Smith's gonna have. You're gonna see the playmakers get involved. And they also came out today. Day had a press conference and said that he is the main play caller in the CFP. Obviously, Heartline's kind of back and forth between South Florida. I know Day knows that's a distraction. Day's like, I'm doing this. That's who we got against Clemson. That's who we got against Georgia. That's who we've gotten against in some of those bigger games. But I'm ready. I wish it was tomorrow. I'm ready. I want Ohio State. I want Ole Miss, because I think Georgia's a good team. But Ohio State, let's do that. Let's do predictions. Right now, I realize we have some time. First thoughts on second round. Who you taking?
For this game specifically, I'm going Ohio State.
For all of them.
Okay, so I'll go Ohio State, and I think it'll be I think it'll be a one possession game. Just me. I'm not a big Miami guy, but it makes me a little nervous. For Oregon, Texas Tech, golly, um,
Mm.
I'm gonna go Texas Tech.
We'll talk more about it later in, I'm sure, next week's episode. This is just rapid fire. Just
Yeah, okay, rapid fire. Yeah. Just rapid fire. Nothing to get nervous about. So I'm going Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana. I'm gonna go Indiana then, and then Ole Miss, Georgia. I would take Georgia big.
yeah, I feel like the Ole Miss game could be a little bit closer. We disagree in the bottom two. I think Ohio State will beat Miami by double digits. I think Ohio State will cover. I see a 31-13 game. I, Ohio State plays the run pretty well, and I'm not scared of Carson Beck. I will say that on record. He does nothing for me. Ohio State just has too many playmakers. I think the Ole Miss, like Lane Kiffin left us, like let's get up for this game. I think that game's going to be a little bit closer, but I think too much Georgia in the end. Like I'm thinking dogs 24-20 type thing. Indiana is not going to allow Alabama to score a lot of points. That Alabama offense is capable, but that Indiana defense is the real deal. Mendoza's good. He's accurate. I'm going 24-13 IU. The Texas Tech Oklahoma one, or Texas Tech Oregon, man. Give me the Ducks. Give me the Dan Lanning Ducks. Dante Moore, Dan Lanning, and the Ducks. I'm going them. I think they get it done. I think Dante Moore's got to not turn the ball over twice, but give me the Ducks.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, you can't go wrong with either one of those, Oregon or Tech, but I just thinking or saying it out loud that Oregon gave up 32 to JMU is
34.
alarming. 34. Yeah.
It's a lot of points.
That's alarming.
All right, who's our I'm sure we'll hit on it next week as we are closer to it, but for now let's look at value box. Who do we got this week?
All right, yes. On topic with the Ducks, we're going Malik Benson. So this is a cat
sneaky.
out of yes. This is the guy who truly was in dollar
Transfer
boxes
kid.
and yes, out of 2023 Bowman University Chrome. He's in his Alabama jersey. Mind you, he was the #1 JUCO player in the country in 2022 or 3, whatever that season was before he went to Alabama. Goes to Alabama, can't play for 2 years, then goes to Florida State. And I'm like, if you can't play at Alabama, you probably can't play at Florida State. Doesn't play at Florida State. So he decides, you know what, I'm going to go to Oregon. I'm like, all right, if you can't play at Alabama, you can't play at Florida State, you probably can't play at Oregon, son. What are we doing here? So now he's, probably the best. If DeCorian Moore is going to continue to not, make plays and be out, this kid's the #1 receiver at 170 something yards, and he's been doing it this year. So this is a guy. His Bowman autos were probably $1 at one point, $1.99, $2.99, and I would have never purchased it. That would be in a 50-cent box, and I wouldn't purchase it. And now they're probably up to $10. There's probably some nicer sales as well. And I mean, now he's got all the eyeballs in the world on him watching college football.
Yeah, this is a great example. We did a box thing for YouTube, 200 packs for hitting 200K subscribers on YouTube, and I ripped a box of 23 Chrome, and I talked about it in that product. This product's loaded. It's got a lot of guys in it. And Malik Benson, I think, is a great example of once those guys are a couple months, a year out, in Bowman Chrome, that year's not being ripped at scale. A lot of that stuff that doesn't sell in value boxes sits in value boxes. So there's probably not just guys like Malik Benson, there's probably a lot of guys that are in value boxes that have had opportunities to go up since then. And again, the college football market is, one that is on the up and up, but it's not necessarily where it could be. So I view this as like, if you look back at some of those early Bowman's Best, early Bowman Chrome products, you look to where they are now, there's probably a handful of guys, maybe two hands here with guys that in value boxes like this. I mean, Malik Benson's got a green auto just $33 recently. You could probably find one of those in a value box. So, the farther we get away from those product release dates, the more opportunities I look at for, value box opportunities for, college football guys like this.
Yeah, that's a crazy green. I mean, there was probably a comp within this season for $4 or $5 on that card, I imagine. So, yeah,
You're probably not
and
wrong.
just to have, that's why I love just the dart throws for the playoffs. It's like someone's jumping up. Is it going to be Malik Benson who's going to see a mass, like, is he now a
Yeah.
draft prospect if he goes off again on tech? Like, does that even, go higher in 2 weeks from now? So, yeah.
Yeah. You bring that up. We did the episode recently where we talked about some of the guys that have moments, and I know we talked about the A&M kids. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. Got to give you a little bit of credit. I know you put your guy Ty Simpson on there, but your boy Jeremy Bernard, man, moving up the draft boards, had a big catch. So I will give you a little bit of credit, although you've kind of fluctuated on the Ty Simpson draft boards. Jeremy Bernard had a solid catch.
Yes.
There's been kind of like the DeCorian Moore Oregon talk. I mean, not quite that extreme, but Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith share the cover of NCAA football. And if you go back to week 4 last year, everybody in the world want to tell you about Ryan Williams and how awesome this kid was. Jeremiah Smith has a national champion, is a unanimous All-American, and is the best football player, best receiver in college football, probably the best football player in the country. Ryan Williams is the second best receiver in Alabama. Like, Bernard is the number one guy on that team. That doesn't happen in Columbus. I just want to point that out there. But shout out to your guy, Jeremy Bernard.
Yes, yeah, he was an honorable mention for stock up. He's playing himself well into the first round, hopefully. An all-state sponsorship, you're in good hands. I mean, he's definitely on the up. So I am excited about that. That was
Yeah,
a
just
big play.
big play, big catch. All right. Last but not least, we talked about this a little bit last week. There were some big names in the portal last week. Obviously, Riola, Lagway. Got a couple guys in there. This week, we got some more. Let's talk about them.
Yes.
Who stands out to you as some of those early entries into the portal?
Yes, so I've got 5 names, 3 quarterbacks, and that's probably where we'll spend most of our time. First one, which was very shocking to me. I was very much not expecting this guy to jump in the portal. Josh Hoover, TCU quarterback. Last year when Nico and all that drama happened, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna try to go get Josh Hoover," and Josh Hoover like even said like, "No, I'm Texas. Like this is home. I would never leave. It was never even a thought. Like no amount of money." Now he jumps in the portal. So big name. I've seen him linked to Indiana. I didn't know this before. When Josh Hoover first released in the product, I was like, I don't really love it. Then I did some homework and I was like, all right, I'm in. I didn't know that he previously committed to Indiana. Now that was an entirely different staff, but
Yep.
there's some familiarity there. So we'll see. And whoever goes to Indiana, like that is a stock up wherever the portal ends and whoever lands there with Indiana, that is a stock up. But Josh Hoover, a name to look out for. Another one, we alluded to this in one of our first episodes, Rocco Becht. And I was like, all right,
Yep.
is he going to go follow Penn State? His whole offensive staff, quarterback coach, and wide receiver coach are all going there. He is from Florida. I wouldn't be shocked if from Miami, Florida State come into the mix, but Penn State there. And then well, Bo Prabula back in the portal. We've always just joked about that. Might he go back to Penn State? That could be real. And then it seems like Virginia Tech is in the mix now with James Franklin. So those are 3 of the highlights. And then Hollywood Smothers, NC State. He's a running back. I would watch out for him. And then Jace Brown, wide receiver, Kansas State. I just think he's a good player, and his
Yep.
autos are like $10 or less. So.
Yeah, Jace Brown's definitely an interesting one to keep an eye out on. The Prabula thing is interesting. I mean, James Franklin took I mean, a handful of cats, if not more, from the Penn State recruiting class. Left them with two. I mean, they were 130th plus in the recruiting class. So it'd be interesting to see Franklin take them there. Beck to follow, half of his coaching staff to Penn State would make a ton of sense. But I think an interesting one, I saw a little rumbling on Twitter that Florida and Summerall were doing everything they could to keep Jaden Baugh out of the transfer portal. Obviously, with a big end to the 2025 campaign for him, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I would imagine he'll be one of the more coveted players to get in the portal if he should choose to leave. I even saw a rumor that said Ohio State might have interest. I'm not sure that would make a ton of sense with Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, and some guys there, but I would imagine he'll be pretty coveted if he does indeed get in the portal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some questions because that's been definitely surfacing and they're like, well, what do you think? Like, does it help or hurt? Like, would people want his auto? And it's like, well, if he stays at Florida, he's a legend. If he leaves, he's probably like a top 2 or 3 guy in the portal where like
Yep.
everybody's talking about him. So I don't think there's really a whole lot of downside whether he does leave or whether he stays. But yeah, Jaden Baugh, that like, you know what? Both those little freshmen at Ohio State and kind of like a Quinshon, like he's kind of a mix of all three of them. Like that would be a nasty little trio with all three of them in
Yeah,
Columbus.
it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Ohio State's already got Bryson Rogers in the portal, and obviously I would imagine you'll have, I mean, Anthony Turbo Rogers is a young running back there. James Peoples has been, you got two freshmen that are 1 and 2 right now. Donaldson's obviously there and took 12 touchdowns this year. There's likely going to be more guys coming out of Columbus before too long, so we'll be curious to see if they try to replace that depth with a guy like, Baugh, should he enter such a big name, or if it'll be more of like a veteran guy like Donaldson, who I don't think was as elite coming in. So we'll see. But yeah, obviously a lot more. But I think your point is very fair, and this is going to be, we talked about this last week with Stock Up, where these guys getting into the portal and then some of these rumors, circulating about where they're going to end up is moving card prices. Like this happens in the NFL with rumors about trades and new locations and new opportunities. These stories are going to write themselves. Josh Hoover ends up in Indiana, like you said. He don't even have to take a snap. Stock up for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So that's what I like about the portal. It's just chaos and just throwing darts, and that's what it's all about with prospecting.
Well, more we'll get more into the games next week as we get closer to New Year. But enjoy your holiday, my friend, and I'll see you next week.
Yes, we shall do it again.
All right. Shout out to our guy Kevin. Shout out to Gabe for coming on this week. But as we wrap up this week, although it is Christmas week, it is it's still a couple solid products coming out this week. You've got Flawless Baseball. That's a big release. Such odd timing for a baseball product. Again, I know we talked about that earlier about the timing piece, but this is a big release. I know it is unlicensed, but people still love Flawless. So we've got that coming out this week. We've got Impeccable WNBA basketball. Again, another one referenced earlier, but big time Paige, Caitlin. Panini has the big names in the WNBA, so that should be a big time release. I think that's the first time ever there's been WNBA Impeccable. Marvel Studio Topps Chrome. And then Prism Racing. You've also got Leaf Lumber Baseball. So no major insane Topps Chrome basketball, Prism football, Cosmic Baseball. Nothing insane there from baseball, basketball, football releases. More some of the non-main 3 sports in the U.S. right now. So you've got a WNBA release, you've got a non-sport release, and then I guess you have baseball. You got a baseball release. I just don't. It's hard to compare a Topps Chrome Update baseball chasing $1 million debut patch auto with a Flawless Baseball where they don't have every single person's auto. Now, again, I give Panini some credit. You've got, they've got some big signers in there. Ichiro or Ken Griffey Jr. was in last year's Flawless. You've had Aaron Judge in a lot of Panini products. So Panini's done a Paul Skeens, Ellie. Panini's done a good job of getting some guys on autographs even without logos. So that should still be a big release. But Marvel Chrome and Impeccable WNBA will be bigger releases. They're just not, again, your Topps Chrome Update, your Topps Chrome Basketball, or Prism Football-esque releases. So we'll we'll see. But yeah, some solid products right before the end of the year. If you listen this far, one, you're the real MVP. But man, enjoy your holiday. Enjoy a few days with family and loved ones. Hopefully, it is a relaxing couple days for everybody. But see you guys next week for the last episode of 2025, first ever year of Cards and Content. Next week's episode, last one of the year. So appreciate y'all for listening. Have a great holiday. Peace, guys.